Hi, I'm Aura. Welcome to the open space. I started this channel recently with one single purpose: to talk with people that inspire me, to talk about things that inspire me, and hopefully to spread the contagion of inspiration around. I'm not on any social media, so if you like the content of this little channel, please subscribe and feel free to spread the word around or write to me your comments in the channel, in the comment section, or feel free to reach out to me through my website, personal website, www.oraitkin.com. I always reply to emails, and I would love to hear from you. And with that, I would like to invite Heather tonight.
Hi.
Hi, Heather. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. It's very strange because Heather showed up in my life out of the blue. Recently, she wrote a very passionate email to me and I responded, and that's how it started. And I want to ask Heather, what motivated you to write email to me? Why out of the blue I received this email?
Well, I heard you talking about some of your experiences, mainly talking about talking to other people or communicating with other people on a human level. And it inspired me, but also, as I've told you, I felt very close to you because of your accent. I feel very close to the Slavic people anyway. And I liked hearing, how you talk about your work and playing music, and specifically the way that you talk about learning you love to talk about tentacles and how we should be exploratory. And I agree with all of that. And I've learned a lot in my life through similar types of experiences and branching out and trying to feel and tangibly kind of connecting with the world. So I felt that I had to write to you. I'm very happy you responded.
Yeah, and you wrote to me after my conversation with Benjamin Boyce on his channel. And I was very happy to see your very sincere email, and you're very sincere. You strike me as a sincere person. And sincerity, I'm just reflecting aloud. Sincerity requires sincerity and vulnerability go together.
Yeah.
Because when you make a sincere statement, you accept the risk of being misunderstood, misinterpreted, and all this strange package that goes around with it. And yet, again, you strike me as sincere person.
Thank you.
Why you choose to be sincere?
Well, actually, I feel as if it was only in the past couple of years that I was really, truly working with sincerity. I think for a very long time, I mean, I hate to say this, but I think I was very self-centered for a large part of, especially my teenage years and into college, because I had a very good life. I didn't think too much about struggle. And it wasn't until I was kind of humbled by certain experiences when you start to realize how small you are, that you're kind of one operating unit with your community or with the world. I had to be honest about myself and sort of what I brought to the table. I noticed that that's something is that Before I really worked on myself and worked on my writing or things that I was proud of, I always wanted to be a certain kind of person, but I didn't put the work into doing that kind of a thing. And there was so much insecurity, I think, connected to me in those younger periods of time. I was very insecure because I didn't put in honest attention or curiosity into something. I was more interested in being perceived as a certain way. And I
Mhm.
think it's been since I was out of college and I've had to face, real life and meet a lot of different people and struggle, that when you're sure of yourself, you're not too scared to reach out to people. I wasn't worried to reach out to you because I felt that you were a very sincere person, that you care a lot about people. And even if you didn't answer me, I liked the idea that you would get my message and that it
Yeah.
would land somewhere nice and you would know that you had made a difference to me.
So in some ways, sincerity might attract sincerity in return.
I think so. I think it does. I think we can
I
tell
think
as
so
human
too.
beings. Yeah, there's like, I think humans can detect inauthenticity. We
Mhm.
have a radar for that. But
Mhm.
when you can tell that someone is being really sincere, you're drawn to them. But
Mhm.
it's something that is really learned. I don't think I was always like this. I think that this was maybe a way that I wanted to be before, but I didn't know how until I started truly caring about other people.
Mhm. Sincerity, in a way, goes together with security,
Yeah.
not with arrogance, but with kind of feeling rootedness in who you are
Yeah.
and just being who you are, and knowing that you are is something that always work in progress, that it's always changing. It's not one thing, it's many things. And
Yes.
just offering that to people, and in a way most people reciprocate. You give people chance to reciprocate. You take burden of faking something
Hmm.
away from people's shoulder by offering this first step yourself. That's how I feel oftentimes, not always, of course.
Yeah, I think something I've been told at many different jobs that I've had, what people have told me that my best skill was communicating with other people. And
Mhm.
I always saw that as being like a professional skill. But when I think about it, I think that it's because I am willing to go to anyone's level to talk to them. I really don't care what their beliefs are so much. And I don't care um, if they think that they're better than me or not. I feel okay in myself enough right now that I literally enjoy talking to people. I like meeting people. I like hearing their stories. I mean, I'm somebody who loves to read. So I'm genuinely interested in people, and I find that when you genuinely are interested in anyone, even very flawed people,
Mhm.
they open up to you. They can feel this.
Because when you're genuinely interested, you don't have preconceived knowledge that they are flawed. You don't
Yeah.
approach them as flawed, you approach them as a totally new planet.
Yeah.
It's a new person, a new planet. You don't know anything about them.
Hmm.
And in a way, it uplifts a person, right?
It does, because they realize that you're seeing them as a human being. So you're not seeing them as, the mailman or your boss or, a family member, when you are really listening to somebody. And a big part of it is listening. So that was the key to what I used to be bad at. I was a horrible listener because I'm very loud. I like to express. And I think I always wanted to be the one that was talking. And I was really bad at listening. And when I started noticing that about myself and forcing myself to listen, like, it's difficult for me. I have to force myself sometimes to listen to people. But once I do, I can see people change because they know that you're being receptive, that they can
Mhm.
share something with you in that space that a lot of people are actually turned off. People are going through the modes of their life, a lot of them,
Mhm.
and they don't have an openness in really wanting to connect with other people.
And you cannot force that in them.
No.
But by listening, you offer probably people a space to feel safe around you and gradually make step forward toward maybe half opening the door, 3/4 opening the door, and finally making step out of the shell of self-absorption or any
Yeah.
shell of anything. But you mentioned in the beginning that you had a period of struggle. Was there any specific event that made you suddenly realize your smallness?
Yes, actually, this started happening at the end of when I was in college. So this is my senior year in my undergrad, and I was living by myself, and I went through a breakup, which tends to happen. And I started thinking about how all throughout school, like through high school and through college, you have a you have a schedule, you have expectations of how you're going to perform. And I do very well in school, so I was doing well. And I knew that soon I was going to graduate, and I just didn't know. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but more than that, deeper than that, because that's like an action oriented thing. I didn't know what I was going to do after school, but worse, I didn't really know who I was. I didn't know what I liked even. I felt very lost, and I would talk to people about this, and they would say, "Oh, well, you like fashion, and oh, well, you like taking pictures." And I would think, yeah, but these are very surface things. There weren't a lot of foundations, like you said, like the roots. I didn't have a lot of things that I said, oh, I know that this is like a part of who I am. And I realized it was because I was pretty distant from other people. I had friends and I had a pretty normal life, but I kind of drifted through groups. I didn't want to become too attached to certain people because there were like expectations with that. And it wasn't a super healthy way to be. And I just thought, well, who are the role models that I really look up to? All of the people that I really looked up to were really good listeners, and that impacted people around them. There was no longer, like, it was unclear to me before that point. I just knew that I wasn't doing something that other people were doing, and other people respected the people I respected. And I realized that it was that they didn't have to say what they thought all the time. So that was one thing, is that I used to just say everything that I thought. I didn't think things through very well. And I actually found that keeping certain things to myself when it didn't exactly feel right to say it ended up being good for me. It was good to let things marinate almost and not just put them out into the world. When I was with different people, I would try and really read people and feel them a little bit. And it was like immediately after I started doing that I started getting a lot of different new friends that I really valued, that I still have these friendships today. And I could tell it was because I was different. I mean, I was really changing my behavior because I didn't want to be alone. I mean, it's a very lonely experience to, only superficially be touching people's lives. And I think I was doing this to protect myself so that certain people couldn't hurt me. I was only kind of just there in their life. And then I was like, this is going to get very lonely. I can't live like this.
Yeah, it's in a way, we all go through that paradoxical tension between deep desire for connection on a deep level, but at the same time, fear of attachment.
Yes. Yeah, I didn't
want... you mentioned that you didn't want it to be attached to anything.
Yeah.
And yet you felt lonely, you wanted a connection.
Yeah, it's true. It was a real problem. And I now understand, I'm a little bit older now. I can understand why I had that fear. At the time, I didn't see it for what it was. At the
Mhm.
time, I just sort of thought, well, I don't need to, have all these attachments to people. Like, I just didn't think too much about it. But I know that it's because when when you care about something enough, or when you care about people enough, or a job or a place, when you really connect with that place and you put down little roots, it
Mhm.
hurts when something happens. It's uncomfortable when a friendship ends or if there's struggle. And I was trying to avoid that. So I would just kind of coast through. I was kind of like a ghost. I was just kind of barely there. And then
Mhm.
I realized that yes, when you really touch other people's lives, when you really try and connect with people, there is a risk. You're right. There's vulnerability, and it does hurt when things don't go right. When people leave your life, it's very painful, but I still would rather that it happened. Now going through it, I'm happy that I would rather hurt, I guess, and recover and try again.
Because that's the only thing that makes you grow.
Right. Yeah,
At
and
least I think so.
I think the lack of growth was a big part of what also showed me this. Like I felt very underdeveloped. I felt like I had certainly done a lot of things and been to many places, but I didn't feel able to deal with everyday life. I had horrible anxiety, horrible. Like I
Uh,
couldn't eat.
may I interrupt for a moment? You said you felt a sense of being underdeveloped.
Hmm.
Uh, so it, it was a gradually growing feeling, or it was dissatisfaction with yourself? Because some people take alternative route here. They start building dissatisfaction with the whole world around them.
Hmm.
But you felt dissatisfaction not with the world around you, but with yourself.
Yeah, big time. And I remember, it's funny, I think you'll find this funny because you teach piano. I remember during this time, I always loved piano. I loved to play it, but I was too busy as a child to take lessons. So
Mhm.
every time I was near a piano, I would try and play it, but I was always too embarrassed around people to actually try and really play. And I remember during this period of time, during the day, I would do all these new things because my solution to this feeling of not, almost like not having an imprint on the world, my solution to this was to explore all the time, every day. I would just go out into the city and I would look, I would talk to new people, I would do new things, I would go new places. But for some reason, every single night that I would come home, on our campus we had like an arts building, and I would sneak in before the janitor like locked it, and I would play the piano there for hours, and I'm not good at it. It wasn't very good,
But
but I
who
loved it.
cares? Who
Yeah,
cares?
it was just fun. And it's funny because looking back, I think it was because I was so hyperactive and I needed something else to think about once I got home. I didn't want to just sit in my room. And it feels, when you play music and when you're kind of failing and getting better at it, you feel productive. So I liked the idea that I was like exploring, and that was one of the things that I did as well. I don't think you should ever hear it though, because it's so bad.
I'm not a Supreme Court judge, right?
You can maybe teach me better one day, but I thought it was interesting
Gladly.
that that was something that I did, and I like, no one told me to do this. I just did it every
Just
single
did it.
night.
It's funny because you said again that you just wanted to explore and in a way forget about yourself.
Yeah.
In a way, I have at some point I realized how liberating, deeply liberating it was for me, sort of stripe off my identity,
Yeah.
get out of it, get out of the me, my image of me, or perceived image of me, just get lost. Like, like you travel to some foreign country and nobody knows you and you don't know anybody, and it's a wonderful feeling, like nobody
Yeah.
cares, and 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 yet you care about everything.
Yeah.
Anything can happen to you. That sense of adventure
Yeah.
when you're not locked in to any perceived stigma of yourself, like being a stranger with yourself
Yeah.
among other strangers.
Yeah, you're right. It is liberating. And
It's very different from being alienated, don't you think? I'm just thinking
yes,
aloud.
what it feels like is you get to choose what hits you. Or you know what? It doesn't even feel like a choice. It feels like you put your feelers out, and whatever sticks, I would say, well, that's interesting. Why do I like this? You know, because a lot of my degree, what I was doing was like branding, and I was learning about social media, and it was really tech heavy. It was learning so much about perception. I mean, really everything that I learned was about perception and how to make something look a certain way. And so it felt really good for me to say, I don't even know what I like. And I would go to a museum or something and I would say, okay, what here do I like? I don't know anything. And I would just see what hit me. And it's funny because those things did create little roots. I didn't notice it at the time, but now when I go to this same museum, if I see a work from this time that was important to me, it hits me so hard because it feels like it was a little tiny piece of me. It's like you see a piece of yourself and you return to it. To me, it's almost like there are pockets of the world now that belong to me. That's how it feels. I didn't have this before, but now I can, like, there are different parts of the world and there are different songs, for example, or things that I wasn't looking for them, but I recognized it as soon as I saw it, that it was going to be a piece of me. And I just said, okay, this is mine now. And it helps me to sometimes remember like what I had been through or why I like what I like.
Yeah, I resonate with what you say because that's how I connect with things. It's not me connecting with something, but it feels like that something chooses me.
Yeah.
Chooses, attach itself to me, and I accept it. And then the roots grow both way. It's whether with piece of music, with a poem, with a book, with an artwork, with a person, with a place, with a building, with a site of nature, with anything. And it's wonderfully enriching.
It is, because I'll tell you why. The first reason is because now that I've been doing this for years, if I ever get, you know, one thing is that because I talk to people so often and I communicate pretty well with people, it also means that sometimes I get a little bit fuzzy. Like I'm feeling other people so much that sometimes I don't really always recognize myself after, like when I'm in social situations or something like that. Sometimes I've been doing so much feeling that I have to come back to myself, and it's good to return to these things and say, oh, that's right, you know, I remember this tiny piece of myself that I left in this book, or I listened to a song and I know that there's a part of me in there. But the other reason why it's comforting is because it means that it can happen again. It means that when I least expect it, I can meet someone or I can go somewhere, and at any time it can become so meaningful to me in this same way, and I never know when it's going to happen. So that's very exciting.
It is exciting. You're talking about serendipity.
Yeah.
But serendipity needs a territory, an open territory, so it will kind of lure, come into, right?
Yeah.
I have a question to you. What I observe around is this strange hyper obsession with identity. because we kind of talk about I love changing my identities. I'm a mother, I'm a teacher, I'm a Russian immigrant, I'm Jewish, I'm a person of the world. If I go to Spain, I feel a little bit like a Spanish person. If I listen to music from Argentina, or I play music from Argentina, I feel like I'm part of that culture. If I read a book of French writer, I feel part of me is French.
Yeah.
So it's like, for me, wearing many hats, as many as possible, is a wonderful, exciting thing. Why people so tightly holding on to their one chosen identity? It seems profoundly boring.
It is hard to say. I think I see some correlation between social media and this, because there was a height of social media and all of this stuff when I was in high school and then going into college. And I know, when I'm looking at it from like a business perspective, that a lot of work goes into making something look a certain way. And I think because of the internet, it's a great tool. I mean, social media is wonderful. It allows all of us to talk to each other and to learn things that we wouldn't normally learn. But I also think it gives people kind of only a two-dimensional space to think about themselves, because they aren't as focused on real life. I mean, really, that's what we're seeing. It's about how we're making life look online. And so that can feel limiting, because it is limiting.
And how we perceived by others.
Right. And if everything is about how you take a picture or how you write something so that you're conveying something, first of all, I don't know that it promotes a lot of growth in the self. I don't think that people are open to the fact that they might change their mind about something. And I think it's important to change your mind all the time. So that's one thing, is that the permanence of the internet and the permanence of social media, I think, messes with people. But it also takes away some of those really great, rich experiences that you are talking about. Like, for example, like, let's talk about traveling. Now, when we travel, it's become a very kind of, in most cases, it can be a very comfortable experience, even though it's a completely foreign experience. And so my parents lived in different parts of Europe before they had me. And, you know, it was a whole different world for them to be there and to experience life and not have a lot of hand holding, and to not have, smartphones to show them where they can go. And again, these things are good because they keep us safe, but they also are a crutch, because we aren't like relying on each other anymore. We're just on our phone all the time, like looking like this and going all over.
No, it's funny because I imagine myself in the company of your parents. My favorite thing to do in Europe is have no map, no phone, absolutely get off the tourists' main roads, and get absolutely lost. In the narrow little streets, in the dark corners, and suddenly seeing some charming little old cafe, hidden, that nobody see, and or something else, or meet an absolute stranger, local person who will tell me, go see the chapel that was built in 11th century that no tourist will hear about because it's off popular destination. So that's the excitement of discovery.
Yeah, it is. And even like small things. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to go to a few different places, and a lot of times there's like an itinerary, right? You like get on a bus and you go on a tour and you learn all these things, and it's great because you're learning and it's enriching. But when I travel with my parents, it's just not like that at all. We just pick a place and then we walk around. It's really funny. And I don't know, you like, one thing that we did that stays with me, and I don't know why, the last time that we were in London, we went to King's Cross Station a lot because we were staying right next to it.
Uh-huh.
And for some reason, the thing that we did for fun at night, like the night thing that we did after dinner, is that we would go to King's Cross and we would get a coffee on the top floor, and we would just watch people board
At
their
night,
train.
coffee at night.
And
I
we
love
would,
your parents because that's what I do every night. I drink espresso.
that's what we had. That's what we would drink coffee, and we would watch people board the trains. And this wasn't even weird to me. I just thought it was fun. I was like, oh, look at all the people. But it was serendipitous. You know, I like to imagine where they were going, and there was this feeling like anything could happen, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so you had your parents modeled it for you in a way, and then you shifted away from it.
Yeah, because I think I used to be a little bit more out of the box before I was so online. But when you're a young person online, I mean, really, I can't stress this enough. I think it changes you. I think that you have friends and you have people that you interact with, and you want to look a certain way, or you want to say the right thing, and it can change you. But I think that especially recently with the pandemic and with all of these different things going on, we've had some serious hardship, and it forced me to push out of that box and be like, I don't care how things look online. I don't care, because it was more important for me to get back in touch with, like, I call it the textures of life, like the parts of life that aren't on a screen. It's textured. It's a mixture of comfort and discomfort, and there's a lot of beauty in that kind of in between space, I think. But it's hard to find it because a lot of times you find it after you are suffering, I think. And it's very potent.
How many people do you think, again, we're not experts who making surveys, I'm sure the people will do surveys, how many people will get so fed up with the dumbing and flattening experience of online life? I'm not talking about using technology as a useful tool, like we're talking right now, but online life, and come to that realization, enough is enough.
It's hard. It's really hard to say because
for you it was your own realization, right?
Yes, yeah, and I think for people who are creative, it's maybe a little bit easier because you're already branching out. You're already trying to use different thought patterns. But I talk to a lot of people who are perfectly fine to never have a new experience ever. And I'm not even calling those people out. Like they are comfortable with living a life where they know everything that they think is going to happen to them, and they have certain friends that they keep around, and that's what they're comfortable with. And the problem with that is that gives you a false sense that it's always going to be like that. And I can tell you from the kind of year that I've had, I know that that's just not true. You know, a lot of my anxiety was around control. It was about how I could control situations or how I could control myself in situations. And I realized that life was just, there was no permanence. There was nothing guaranteed. And once I gave up some of that power, it felt really good to say, well, I don't actually have to do anything. I don't actually have to say anything. I can think whatever I want. And I think that more people are realizing that, though, because a lot of people have gone through a difficult time right now.
Yeah.
I think that's what it will take, though. Well, I'll tell you another thing. I think that people are looking for sincerity, which is the first thing that we talked about. People are looking to find something that will alter their life or change their life. They're going to be hungry for that. That's how people feel after a while when it's the same thing all the time, all the time. We want something new, and it's not going to be enough that there's like a new Netflix show out or that a new restaurant opened up or something. They're going to have to get that through something else.
new, which is not another substitute.
Yes, right. Because
It's not another candy. It's not another, I don't know, fancy looking bubble gum. I don't know.
Well, I would be really excited about that, but no, I know what you mean. Yeah, I think there's a lot of substitution happening right now. But I think a lot of people are realizing it doesn't match for the real thing. It just doesn't. And we know the difference. I mean, as somebody who, I think I've talked about this with you before, but when I was learning how to knit, the idea of me being able to like knit something and finish it, I thought it was going to be so cool. It was so hard. It was a very difficult thing to learn how to do. It was a lot of counting, which I'm not good at. And you know something though, I had so much satisfaction at the end of it that was different than the satisfaction that you feel when you take a nice picture and you put it online and you get a lot of likes on it, and that feels very good in the moment. But there's a much deeper satisfaction of literally failing until you've done the thing that you wanted to do, and you're different by the end. By the end of the project, you are changed, and that is a deep satisfaction.
And you're not doing it as a performative act, right?
Right.
You're doing it for you strictly.
Yeah. And it feels very good to do that. But I'm worried that what I hope is that especially younger people will still try and do these things, because it can feel like with things being kind of permanent on the internet and stuff, they might feel like they can't make a mistake. And they should make a lot of mistakes. I mean, everyone, we're all making mistakes for the rest of our lives.
Interesting, because what another liberating thing, specifically in art, in music, is I train my students, I train myself as a performer. It's always my North Star is a mistake. Everything goes around mistake. I have to embrace mistake, right? I have to live with it on the stage, right? I cannot stop playing. Right? And I have to be forgiving for that mistake while striving to perfection, right? Perfecting the craft while being forgiving with mistakes that are inevitable parts of the process, right? The mess ups, the mess.
Yeah.
And internet in many ways is unforgiving.
Yeah.
Because anything you put there, we're shifting now. I don't know how we arrived at social media. That's why I'm not on social media. Because anything you say between you and I, even if there is some tension or misunderstanding, we can ask each other, we can repeat, we can sort it out. It cannot be sorted out on internet, right? Once you put a word out there, it's set in stone, and the punishment can hit you heavily. So do you think it's a fear of that judgment?
Yes, I do. I think that's exactly what it is. I mean, I even see young people, and I'm talking like 13, 14-year-olds making an Instagram, for example. And, you know, think back to when you were 13 or 14, you go through so many phases that like what you liked 2 months before is super lame. So just imagine how it is now where they're posting pictures and I'll watch them like once a month erase everything and start again, because it's like the breaking down of themselves and starting new again. And I mean, we all do it, but I think the performative nature of it is giving them the wrong idea. You know, it's not about how they look online. I know I take a lot of these pictures. I made these same mistakes. I did these same things too. And it doesn't compare in any way to making mistakes in real life and learning. And I mean, a lot of mistakes that I made in my life that I had to make better, I'm really happy for that. For the most part, they weren't on the internet because it is unforgiving, and people are scared. They don't want to make a mistake. They want people to see them as perfect, and so they might never try.
So in a way, it's, how to put it, it's almost stifles creative potential of a person, because again, making mistakes, it's a part of any creative process. If you bring in as a playing factor that play key role, a fear of making mistake, it paralyzes your creativity completely. That's how I see.
And what you think is, well, why even try? Why put anything up if there's always such a risk and you don't know where the risk is? You know, but I think it's important for young people to really think again about who they are, because really who they are is not in their screen. That's some stuff that they made up and put on there. Who they are is existing here in our real world. And it's gonna take more than just being, you know, on the internet. They're gonna have to, and I have to do it too. It happens to me all the time. You get really depressed on social media. There's a ton of studies that tell us that. So you have to be able to see real life for what it is.
And not just seeing who you are, but first having courage to admit that I don't know who I am.
Yeah.
And
That's
start
a
from
big part
there.
of it. Yeah, yes, that's right. Because it's a really wonderful thing. This is the way that I imagine it. This is my philosophy. I could be wrong. So I don't think that there's something inside of me that is like marble that someone's chiseling away, and inside the marble is going to be like me. I don't think it's like that. I think becoming is an additive process. It's not something that you kind of take the incorrect parts of yourself away until you get this, you know, perfect euphoric version of yourself. I think it's the opposite. I think it's doing a lot of things and some of them not quite being right, and then learning. And learning is adding. You know, you're building yourself. It's more of, it's creating rather than it is like digging for who you are. You know, like you can't be so introspective about yourself that you're searching all this time for yourself. You're gonna have to like get out of your bedroom or something. Because you'll find, and like you said, it's a continuous process.
Yeah, it's a story that you write. You have to keep writing, right?
Yeah.
As you said, additive process.
Yeah.
In both, introspection is very important. It's needed rather as evaluation of all these external interactions and experiences.
Yes, it is needed. But I think that if you are only doing that, if you're obsessing, which is what I kind of used to do, and I can tell you right now that it never helped me. And I was always more insecure because there's not a lot that you can get from yourself by just staring at yourself all the time and saying, oh, I wish I was different, you know?
Yeah, it's like you're eating yourself alive.
That is what it's like. That's exactly what it feels like. And the only way to stop that, to stop that feeling, which was horrible, it was just horrible to sit inside and be afraid to go outside and be afraid. Like the only way I could stop that was to just say, I have no idea what's going to happen. I'm going to go off today. I'm going to do this thing. I don't know who I'm going to meet. I don't know how it's going to be. And it was the only way that I could. It was kind of like shock treatment. I just, you know, forced myself to go out there. Some stuff I didn't like, but some things that I never would have expected to like I never would have expected to meet someone like you, or I would have never expected to really deeply love some of the music that I love, except that I stumbled upon it and then I loved it. I wouldn't have known if I wasn't open to doing it.
But to stumble upon something, you have to keep walking, keep
You
exploring.
have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I hope some of the younger generation can hear your story and your thoughts on that. But
I hope so too.
yeah, we're all piece of work in progress,
Yeah.
and we're
right.
sculpting each other through interaction.
Yeah, we are. I mean, I feel that I am enriched after meeting you. Truly. I wrote,
Well,
I mean,
that's
I
how
wrote,
I feel.
yeah.
That's
I
how
mean, I wrote something to you the other day in an email, which was it was just so emotional, but I
it was
felt that
beautiful.
I had to, like, I find it's very important when you meet people or if you see people that you think it will make an impact to reach out to them. I think it matters to reach out and to say, I hear you, from like, I'm living in a completely different place than you, but somewhere I was able to just reach across and talk to you, and it's impacted me for the better. So yeah, I'm glad I talked to you.
And I'm glad I found you too. So I see that very retro looking truck.
Yes, this is my dad's painting. It's his newest painting. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It is cool. It's
Yeah.
cool to find inspiration in simple kind of mundane objects, seemingly mundane objects.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with you. So that's another thing, is that being so obsessed with image and
Mhm.
being like, I love photography, I love to take pictures. But what happens is you get so wrapped up in an aesthetic or so wrapped up in things looking perfect, you can't see the way that the world really looks, which is imperfect, but so much more beautiful because it's imperfect.
Yeah.
So it's important, I think, to practice that, to see the world for what it really is.
To see the world for what it really is.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, you have to make a step into the world, which you are doing.
Yeah.
Bravely.
Yeah.
Bravely.
I guess so.
Sometimes you step into the mud. So what?
Yeah,
So
you have a muddy shoe. What are you gonna do?
what?
You pull yourself out, you keep going.
That's
That's what
true.
we're both doing. We're doing this together, I guess.
Oh, yes. And sometimes walking barefoot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like that sometimes. Yeah.
Okay, Heather, it was wonderful talking to you, and we will continue.
Yeah. I'm happy to talk about all these things.
Yes, and other things.
And other things. Yeah, more to come. I
More
don't know
to
what, but we'll plug that. Something's coming.
So can I say to be continued? I
Yeah.
always say it anyway.
Yeah, and I think it's good. I don't know where we'll be next time, and that's exciting too.
We'll find ourselves somewhere
Yeah.
in the middle of nowhere and go from there. We'll keep knitting, right? We'll have a magic yarn ball.
Yeah, an invisible string is what I like to say between
Yeah.
us. String, yeah. I like that.
Okay. Heather, I would love to meet your parents actually one day.
I'll tell them.
Maybe,
We'll fly out there.
At least throw it out there.
Yeah, I mean, they really think you're very cool, so I think that they would like that.
I think they're cool.
You haven't met them. No, I'm kidding. They're pretty cool.
We'll have late night espresso.
Oh, that would be
over the
so
screen.
fun. Yeah, we'll just watch people on the street and we'll drink our espresso. It's my favorite thing to do. I love it.
Yeah. Okay, Heather, I'll see you soon.
Yes, I'll talk to you soon. Thank you for having me.
Talk to you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.